and welcome. My name is Calliope, and we're going to be doing a special exam today. Let me just grab my stethoscope here. We're going to be focusing on 3 manual diagnostic methods: auscultation with the stethoscope, palpation with my hands, and percussion either indirectly or directly. So, I'd love to start with the stethoscope, if you don't mind. Okay. We're going to start with your face. More specifically, we'll see if we can listen to your temporal arteries. So, I'm going to put the diaphragm of the stethoscope right in this area, and we'll see if we can hear that pulse there. So, I'm going to put this right here. Okay? And we'll just listen for a few moments. And we will just adjust right here. Maybe right here. Maybe right here. I'm going to be putting the stethoscope right around the carotid artery. So right now I can hear both the heart sounds and my breath and my voice, which we can listen to on you as well. So, just going to place this right here, and for this bit, your breathing and your voice is very loud. So I'm going to have you take a deep breath in, and then just hold that for a moment. Good. And exhale. Good. Deep breath in. Just hold that. Okay. And exhale. Good. Now, just for funsies here, since we've got it, just gonna listen to see if maybe we can hear the pulse in your wrist. We have the radial pulse here. There we are. And maybe the ulnar pulse, as well as the brachial pulse. So, if I could just see your arm here, okay? And I'm just going to keep this flipped so your palm is upward. And we're just going to take a little listen here. And we're primarily listening for the quality of the pulse. Good. And just for fun, see if we can hear the ulnar pulse. If we can't, that's just fine. It's a little trickier than the radial. But we can get a good listen to the brachial pulse here. Good, just that. sound. It's nice and easy, rhythmic, steady. So, have your other arm here, and we'll just do the radial pulse. Ulnar. Ulnar pulse is not my favorite. It can be a little tricky trying to get in there. It's just this little narrow area that'll allow you to feel for it. Once you know where it is, it's not hard, but trying to find that in the beginning is a little bit of a task. Good. Brachial pulse is nice and rhythmic. So, for your heart, we have a few places we can listen here. So on your chest here, your heart is on your left side. But the first heart valve that we listen to is actually on the right side of the sternum. So we'll move from right here to the other side of the sternum. I hit gold there. It's coming in real loud. And then we can do Erb's Point, which is pretty much right in the middle. Yeah, just right there. We can do the apex beat, which is the 5th intercostal space. So all these little spaces in between the ribs, those are intercostals. We go 5 down, and at the mid-clavicular line, that's where we'll get what's supposed to be the apex beat. And then we can go down, so if we had gone aortic, pulmonic, we can go a bit down for tricuspid. And then we have to do a bit of a diagonal to get to the mitral valve. Okay. So on you here, so this is the right side, this is the left. So we're going to start on the right side next to the sternal body here. And you can just breathe normally. Good. And then we just flip to the other side for the pulmonary valve. We're starting with the diaphragm, which listens to higher pitch sounds. And then we can come down. Let's just do the valves first. So we'll go down to the tricuspid, the bell of the stethoscope, the bell end. That one will be better for lower pitch sounds. Okay, and then coming over and down for the mitral valve. Good. Okay, and then Erb's Point right here. With the diaphragm for a few moments, a few cycles. And then so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 intercostal spaces down, and then the mid-clavicular line on you. If we meet these two together, is this the apex beat? It should be. If it isn't, there's something goofy happening. And so it is. So now let's just switch to the bell. So this is going to work in the same way. Instead of listening with the diaphragm here and getting all those very high-pitched sounds, we turn instead the bell, and we can get those real low sounds so it doesn't sound so breathy and pitched up. It sounds just real low and rumbly. So let's just go across the valves here. So we'll start with the aortic. Okay, and the pulmonic, pulmonary valve, pulmonic, whichever way you want to go there. Tricuspid. And mitral. We can just come back up. And just to be thorough, do Erb's point. I remember our apex beats right about here. Okay. Go. Okay, good. So now let's listen to the lungs. We're going to start, so above the clavicle here, we have the lung apex, the lung apices. So I'm going to have you breathe in and breathe out. I'll switch to the other side. Breathe in, breathe out. Then we'll just go down, over, down, over, and just work our way down in a ladder-like fashion. I'm going to have you breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Nice and rhythmic. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. If I could just listen to your back real quick, okay? I'm just going to put the stethoscope right here. So, breathe in, breathe out. Okay, and then breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Okay. Last thing here. We are going to listen to the abdomen here. So, just be about a couple seconds. And we'll listen to a few spots in each quadrant. Good. No need to breathe any different. Just normal. So after this, we're going to do some palpation. Feel around face, lymph nodes, landmarks, that sort of thing. While we do our palpation, we can also use our fourth diagnostic method, which is pretty easy to do, which is just inspecting. So, get this out of the way here. Make that comfortable. Okay, so we've done all of our auscultation. Do you mind if I start feeling around your face? Okay, so just going to feel general textures here. Feel if anything doesn't, feel right. So, I'm certain that you know a little bit about how this goes. It's just feeling around, and I can certainly talk about that for days. It's not very hard. But people often like it when I talk about other things while we're doing this bit of multitasking. Just going to look around the hairline and the ears. So, when I was growing up, occasionally in the autumn and the winter, my family would have this dish called supa sa gris nokli sama. Supa sa gris nokli sama. That's a bit of a mouthful, yeah? Well, it's very simple. It means semolina dumpling soup. Dumpling soup in Croatian. And for years, I could not find the recipe for this soup, these dumplings, because my family didn't speak Croatian anymore. There's nobody living who speaks it in our family. Just gonna feel the lymph nodes here, starting at the back of the head. Nobody speaks Croatian anymore. I never met my grandfather, so I don't know if he was fluent, but my great-grandfather was from Croatia, and my great-great-grandparents didn't really speak English. So I know that all that was left was just swear words, which were not passed down to me and my siblings. Okay, I'm just going to feel underneath the jaw here for submental, submandibular nodes. So it was easy to reclaim one dish that we had called crostule, because in English that is a sweetened pasta dough, not like garlic knots, but like a kind of a pastry thing. And that's a mouthful in English, so it just made more sense to keep the original name, crostule. And gris noklitsama also can go, so the noklitsama part is dumplings, gris for the semolina part. Just gonna feel the lymph nodes right in here. But you can also call it dumplings, so I think the singular is noklitse, plural noklitsama, or canadale, and I think the plural is canadalama. Okay, so I'm just going to feel the pulses in your neck here, one at a time. But when you don't know the name for the thing, kind of hard to re-find it. It wasn't passed down. But just a few months ago, I really, really tried. I'm like, it can't be this hard. And eventually I did find it. It took a long time. I'm just going to feel the pulses right here. And the temporalis. Temporal arteries here. Good. And crostule is originally a Venetian dish. And we're just going to feel the masseter muscle here. But the noklitsama, that's just a general Balkan thing. Good. Okay, let's just feel along the chest here. So I'm going to feel for heaves and thrills. Heaves we feel with this end of the hand, the heel of the hand. Thrills are with the flats of the fingers. So I was really, really trying to, I didn't remember much about it. I didn't know how it was made. But it is very recognizable in its appearance, because noklitsama, they are drop dumplings. Feel for thrills here. These are palpable heart murmurs. They're drop dumplings, and I remember that my father would use spoons to form them. They'd be real little, and then would use them to put them in the soup, and they puff up like little cauliflowers, so they're all like lumpy looking. When you would eat them, they would kind of break apart in their little lumpy bits. Very scientific, lumpy bits. Good, okay. Let's just go ahead, feel around the abdomen. Let me know if anything doesn't feel right. So because it's so recognizable, I finally saw, when I start seeing pages in Croatian that say Supa sa gris noklitsama, that I'm like, it's you. I remember you. And I don't know where the recipes came from. I really don't know anything about my father's parents, save for that his father was the Croatian one. And as far as I'm aware, I don't know if he cooked or not, so maybe he got the recipes from my great-grandparents. I don't know. Okay, let's just feel along the arms here. I'll start at the shoulder and just work my way down. There's a lot of questions that there's no one to ask, there's no one to answer. But these are the two things, Crolești and Noklitsama, that I remember as a kid, because nobody remembers anything from any part of the family except the Croatian side. So you kind of lock onto that, especially because we are very Slavic looking, so it's easier to relate to that part of the family. But because these things were lost, not just the language, but traditions and history and mannerisms, I learned something very interesting about the Croatian language, which is that it, as a language, has one of the most extensive family term categories, I guess, in language in general. It's very specific. So, for example, there's a word for if you are a person's paternal uncle's spouse. You know, like there's one word for that. There's one word for the maternal uncle. There's one word for a paternal aunt. I mean, it's very specific. Okay, let me just feel the pulses here. I'm going to feel one at a time, and then we'll do both of them at the same time. Here's the radial pulse. But for example, so for my sister's kids, I would be, because I am my sister's sister, I'm the maternal aunt, I would be Teta, and my partner would be Tetak. Tetak? Forgive my pronunciation, it's doing my best, but it's kind of a tricky one. The other side here. But for example, a brother would be Ujak, because he would be the maternal uncle. Okay, and the ulnar pulses here. But I haven't seen different terms for nibblings based on how they're related to you. I've just seen that it's nechuk for nephew, and depending on where you hear it from, I've heard nechakinya and nechakinya for niece. Okay, I'm going to feel for a radial delay. I'm going to put my fingers on both radial pulses. They should be about simultaneous. Okay, so right here. But I've gathered all these little bits. You try to find recipes. Like, I'd really like to try kiflice and mid and Yahtzee. Good. Okay, and now the brachial pulse. And you try to find bits of culture, learned about folklore and fairy tales. You just try to find things that anchor you to what came before. For some people, that's not important, but okay. When I was a child, Croatia was spoken of like it was almost like we weren't from here, but we were from there, and we were just temporarily displaced, kind of. But that also could have been just me as a child. You never know how children are going to absorb information, how they're going to be shaped by it. But now that I'm an adult, it's different. It's just another piece of the puzzle. Okay, let's look at the legs here. And as an adult, I've learned that one can have many homes. Nobody's been to the old country, to Hrvatska, in like 100 years. So, you know, nobody knows. And I'd love to be able to go someday so that I can tell the next generation, this is where we came from, this is what it looks like, this is what it's like. If this is something that makes you feel fuller as a person, then you can keep it. And if it doesn't, then you know, and you can use it when you want or if you don't want. And I get all wrapped up into this because don't tell anybody. But I perhaps have someone in the family who has procured a piece of jewelry for their significant other. Okay. Do you mind just putting your feet up here so I can feel around? Okay. So then you want something to share with them and with the next generation, should they choose to go that route. And also it's just interesting to me. It also could just be that, and that's okay too. Okay, other foot. There's nothing wrong with learning more about a topic. Good. Okay, so while I have your foot here, I'm just going to feel the dorsalis pedis pulse, and then we'll do post-tib. Okay, right here. Good. Okay, and other foot back up here. Yep, just for the pulses. Good, and then post-tib. Alright. Okay, and both feet on the, yep. Okay, now the back of the knee here, we will have pulse right back here, the popliteal pulse. Good. But yeah, it's just more, it's easier to focus on one group when nobody from the German family remembers anything, or it wasn't passed down. Nobody from the Irish side, pass down anything, that sort of thing. Okay. And then let's go ahead and do our percussion here. So I'm going to start with some direct percussion on the sinuses. Let me know if it's painful at all. But yeah, it's just more something to expand your understanding of who you are, where you come from, what all has come before, so you can continue to build from it. And you can take what you like and you can leave the rest if you'd like. But at least you get a choice rather than people just not sharing that. Good. Okay. So with the chest, I'm going to be, it's a little harder when I can't see, just tapping along the chest wall here. Good. But yeah, you may find something very tasty in a traditional recipe. Maybe you find a fun story in the fairy tales. Maybe you find a fun holiday tradition. It's all just stuff to make life fuller, more beautiful, to make it the way you want it. Okay. So let's go ahead and just do this around the abdomen here. Okay, and I can use this to map the borders. And see what has air, what doesn't, what has fluid, what doesn't. You know, now that I think about it, I didn't even really say what the nucleatsama are. So semolina is a type of flour. It's a wheat flour, but it's a little more fancy. I think it can be used in like pizza dough, for example. It's more expensive. And I've mostly seen it used for chicken soups, although I suppose you can certainly do it for vegetable soups. And you do this flour, and I think some people might use a baking powder, maybe some salt, some water. It's very simple. Just depends on, you could just do your semolina and water, I would suppose, and the salt. Some people use some additives. And then you make these little balls of dough, and you get 2 spoons, and you can flick them off the spoons into the soup so that they puff up. So they're not anything very exotic. They're just specialty flour drop dumplings that are very light and puffy and fluffy. Good. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a last little pass of some palpation. We did our pulses, we looked at chest, arms, legs, and feet. So I'm just going to focus on the face here. And yeah, we sometimes it can be a little bit of work when you have a very large family, but I hope to make that sometime when it gets cooler out. And then when I found the little recipe for kiflice, I think they were like little crescent-shaped cookies. I believe made in Yahtzee is like a gingerbread. I was just more looking for desserts that were easy, which is kind of hard to find. I don't really like frying, so I wanted to save Croatian for when I felt like I could endure the task of frying. But, looking at cakes and stuff, there are recipes, but I'm like, dang, y'all are doing too much. I imagine it's delicious, but wow. Apparently everybody just has a lot of time to make these elaborate recipes, which, good for them. That sounds awesome. I figured I'd just start there, see if that is tasty and delicious, and go from there. And then maybe I don't have everything, but I can have just little tidbits that everyone else can share in as well. So all we need is just some tidbits, just to fill in the gaps. Okay. Okay, well, I didn't find anything out of the ordinary when it came to your skin, when it came to any of the joints here, pulses. Nothing sounded off with the stethoscope or percussion, so you have a clean bill of health. Do you have any questions at all? Okay, well, thank you for allowing me to perform this examination. I hope you have a whale of a day and a good rest of your night. Thank you.